Welcome, everybody, to the Down in Business podcast. I'm Chris Hollis, the producer of the podcast. Alex is out on vacation, a well-deserved vacation, so we wish him some good rest with his family, waiting on baby number 3, so they're fitting this in before the baby comes. So I have my cohort, co-worker, friend, and marketing marketing expert, Logan Ingram. Logan, how you doing?
Howdy, Chris. How's it going? I'm doing well.
Good. So what I want to talk about today is social media content, specifically the content itself. All because, and I'm going to let you tell the story in a second, but there's all kinds of methods and stories and sponsored ads that we see all the time of companies saying we have the key to make you go viral, right? Like we know the algorithm inside and out, and we know how to get around it to make your stuff hit hundreds of thousands or millions of people, right? But in our experience, that's just simply not the case, right? So I wanted you to give your story on how on one of the videos or a series of the videos that we found that just totally kind of debunked kind of that myth.
So I don't even truly remember why I created this reel. I created a reel on my personal Instagram account that was Star Wars related. It was because I was trying to make fun of the fact that Disney bought Star Wars, and I wanted to like humorously put the Disney intro, like the TV show intro, into like a Star Wars clip.
Specifically like the teen stars of Disney Channel like coming back into the show.
Yes. Yeah, like the teenagers who go wave the wand and you're watching Disney Channel, and then it cuts back into like a terrible Star Wars scene where like somebody just got burned or something. And so there's like a lot of dark humor in that, but I just posted that because I thought it was funny. I didn't expect it to go anywhere, and then 2 days later, it's blowing up on Instagram. And that's with no tags, no geotagging, no caption. Literally, it's a video.
It's just the video uploaded.
Literally a video. Yeah. Nothing on it. And it just took off. I mean, one person shared it. This is, I guess, how it happened. One person shared it, and then it just created a snowball effect that just kept going on. And it went from like 100 views to over 1.2 million views. So then I'm like, okay, I'll create some more of these. So this is where the strategy came in, because obviously there was no strategy the first time. I just took another clip and did the exact same thing with a different Disney star. I think the first one was Miley Cyrus, and then the second one was somebody else. And I did it again, but I went back to the first video as it was still catching steam, and I had my friend Brett comment, who actually works here as well. I had him comment like, part 2 is even funnier. And then I pinned that comment to the top of that post and then uploaded part 2. That one had no tags or geotagging, anything like that at all either. So it's literally just the credibility of someone else's comment that led the second one to blow up as well. And then it just went on and on.
Yeah. So I think you made 4 or 5, and they were all over 6, like they're all 6-figure views, like 100,000 plus.
Yeah. Well, I made 5, and I think 3 out of the 5 got tons of views, and I think there were like 2 of them that made like 6,000 views. Yeah. Those are the outliers, but
it's still kind of the same thing, right? Like because eventually it all boiled back to, this is really funny, this is really entertaining.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what I want to talk about is when we talk about, hashtags and strategy and everything else, if the content doesn't boil down to some way for people to connect with it, then they still don't want to watch it. Right. And so I scroll through, reels and TikToks and stuff that we've made in the past, and some I rest on. I'm like, okay, that was, that one caught my attention. And then some I'm like, why did I post this at all? Like, this has no real value to it other than I needed to get, I needed the repetition of getting stuff out there all the time. And there's nothing to knock against, like consistency. Consistency is definitely part of growing an audience through social media marketing. But at the end of the day, like, it only takes one video to get people talking that can make it explode. So for the Down Business podcast, for instance, just a couple of weeks ago, we posted a video to a Facebook reel, which we hadn't been posting reels to Facebook, because we just let Instagram carry the real thing. And so we'll start posting these on Facebook too. It got over 6 million views in like a week. and it was, and the topic of it was somewhat controversial, but we were talking about, the hourly versus salary thing. And there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions on it, and naturally so, because everybody's had a job, right? Everybody's been paid to do something. And when you make an announcement like one of the biggest lies perpetrated on American work culture, that gets people's attention, right? And so you kind of want to hear it out. But at the end of it, it boils down, like there's a few core emotions that I kind of see that things that go viral, especially through short form video, it kind of boils down to some kind of core human emotion, right? Whether it be, when it comes to politics, it's either like fear or some kind of polarizing fear a lot of times of like, if this happens and this is going to happen and it's going to change everything. It can be humor, like something that's just really funny is just really funny. And, we as people, as human beings, really enjoy funny things that make us laugh. Some things are really inspirational, and so if I feel like stirred up and motivated by something. We see this with like the talkover videos, right? Like the voiceover of somebody working, voiceover of someone doing something with their family. Like those things stir up emotions in us. And I feel like, a lot of small business owners, when they're trying to make content to help push their marketing on social media, we miss the mark by just trying to get it in front of as many people as possible, that we don't ask the question of how does this connect with anybody? Right. So yours was really funny, right? And so I think about how, even how we talk about stuff here on the podcast, like what's the real value that's going to land on the other side of this content, right? Because I think it's important to say that our marketing, like what we market, can't just be about us, right? And so we're always trying to portray value to a client. Like when we're acquiring clients, we're always talking about what can we offer them, right? But then it's so funny how marketing is so often it's look at what we're doing and how good we're doing. It's like, that's not only that's done on purpose, but I think over time it doesn't become a gloat, but it becomes, this is what I think is exciting. So this is what I'm posting, even if it's really just valuable to me as a business owner, a marketer, et cetera, right? But what's the value to the client? What's the value to the watcher? Like if your end goal is to create clientele, they need to know that you can either solve their problem, like you can bring a solution, or you have this really good product that can really, up and benefit their life. But if all the content ever says is look how cool we are, then this still doesn't bring you value to the client, right? Like, what do you think about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think while you were saying that, I just thought of the example of the iPhone 14 that was just announced. There's some people talking about that, like, obviously it's a new iPhone from the biggest and best phone company. But a lot of people are saying that there's like next to nothing new with the phone that justified a brand new phone being released. But at the same time, on the other hand, you have Apple who's like, look what we built this time. So I think there is a lot of that, especially with these big titans.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of become a staple of culture for them to be the top dog in a lot of ways. And so in a lot of ways, you're right. They do kind of flex that muscle. And they kind of do a little bit of both. Like when they announced the prices, I think there was like $100 price drop on like every model behind it. So like I think you can get like an iPhone 13 base model for like $599, where it was like $1,000 when it came out. And so that's not nothing. So that produces a little bit of value. And then I think the one thing that I saw that might bring some value to people is people really care about the camera in their phone. And they really did spend a lot of time highlighting that. I ended up watching it yesterday because technology, I can't not. But I thought the same thing. I was like, this really doesn't justify me going and spending another $1,000 on a phone.
Right.
But their staple has been like, look how big they do it. Like even with their production value, like the production value of how they do those announcements is insane. And so it has its own pull just by being Apple. Right.
Yeah. Now the iOS 16, on the other hand, I'm really excited about that. That's clearly like I think everybody has been wanting to customize their own phone, like we're going to be able to do on iOS 16 for a really long time.
Right.
I mean, like you hear people like jailbreaking their iPhone just to get that level of customization to it. But
yeah. And that brings value to the customer.
Yes.
And that makes sense for them to market. And so Yeah, as Apple's kind of like, they are so cool that you just want to know what they're doing, but at the same time, they do bring a lot of value to their clients, and they listen to their clients. But when it comes to social media marketing in particular, though, like the idea of it going like viral through, especially short form video or photos, I think even more short term video. What I have noticed in the last 3 to 5 years is when you go quote unquote viral for short form video. So I'm going to say short form is 90 seconds or less, right? You have one thing to talk about. It's a really condensed version of it, and then you post it, right? Mm-hmm. Or one thing to show, and then it's over. Whereas long form has a more nuanced discussion, 2, 3, 4 plus minutes, even up to 15, 20 minutes. What I've noticed is the people that I remember from being on social media, they have stood the test of time and gained some real serious popularity and some real serious value through long form video and storytelling and marketing versus like just getting some reel to go viral, right? So for instance, a content creator that I follow pretty closely, it's a guy named Peter McKinnon.
Is that the photographer?
He's a photographer and videographer in Canada. And he started out years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago. He was making tutorials on how to do like photo editing and video editing and those kinds of things. And he was really kind of like the first to market for some like really high level free tutorials for videographers and photographers. And then it morphed over time to being a lot of like his brands and his lifestyle. But if you watch his videos, they're always consistently bringing the same value to the person watching. Like there's a lot of people who just enjoy his personality, but he's never detached himself from what he was always doing for those people to follow him in the first place. And there's nothing wrong with, branching into a couple different things, but you need to have the core of who you are in the center still, right? And so for us, it's always been trying to help business owners grow their company, become better leaders, understand their finances more, understand how to market themselves. Those have always been like the core functions of the podcast. But then lately, like we've delved kind of into this like little leadership branch, and we've dived a little bit into some politics branches, but the core of what we do is in finance, business, marketing, and leadership, right? And what I noticed with short form is a lot of times it's whatever gets us to 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 followers is what we're going to do, right? And so we've seen this through guys who just gain crazy popularity. Is that they'll just post stuff to get popular, even if it has nothing to do with what they're actually trying to market.
Right. Just casting that wide net.
Yeah. It's like videos that have gone viral before, they like snatch and repost it just to get the following. But what that ends up being is you have all these people who follow you that don't really want anything to do with what your core mission is. Right.
Which can actually, work against you when it comes to like engagement, especially if you're an influencer or even a business that relies on digital or social media marketing to reach people.
Yeah. And because at the end of the day, if the people following you through your social media marketing are not actually interested in what it is you're trying to offer them, it never turns into money. It never turns into money. Like if it's just followers, if you have 50,000 followers and you just done whatever you can to get that many, and they're not really there for what you have to offer, your only hope to ever monetize through social media is to do sponsorships or to do like paid posts on your page. And that's it, because you've told Instagram and Facebook that all these people like you and they're following you. And so they're going to push your channel to more people like them. But your niche is so wide and so much of the general public. I mean, that can work a little bit if you have something that anyone can want, anyone can buy, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like a trades and service business, it does you no good to have this massive following of people who don't want anything to do with what you have to offer as far as turning it into profit.
Right.
At that point, it's really just look how big my profile is, right?
Yeah.
And so what have we seen from, I think we have a couple stories of this, but we've tracked some guys that we know have either bought followers or paid for like scripted accounts to follow them just to grow their numbers. And so tell us a little bit about the numbers of what you see after that, like their likes and their follows and like the kind of the next level past just faking it till you make it kind of level.
Yeah, I mean, a good analogy is like, the Wizard of Oz, pull back the curtain and, well, like on the front end of things, it's, you see this high number of followers, you see this high number of view count. But when you pull that back, it's like, okay, why is there only like one comment on this post that says, send this to Carolina community? And like, there's like maybe 120 likes versus the 100,000 views that, have watched this reel or this video or something like that.
Promoted on musicrocks.co.
Yeah. All these comments, all these bots comments.
Yeah.
And then, if you click on somebody's follower count and you just kind of briefly browse through who these people are and, what kind of accounts they are. I mean, go to somebody, and click on their follower list and pick out a couple and just see what kind of people they are. I mean, an easy way to tell, because I had this on my personal account happen to me. I made a post, and it actually wasn't the Star Wars one. It was something different. But I had a lot of people start to follow me, but they were all like 0 posts, like following 300 and 0 followers. And you could tell like it was a low res image and there was a link in the bio. It was clearly like a bot account. And I had tons of those starting to follow me. So I had to switch it to private for a while. But you'll definitely see a lot of that when you take that path.
Yeah, we've seen accounts with 70,000+ followers on Instagram, and then they get like 14 likes.
Yeah,
and like the only comments are promoted here kind of comments, and those are either from like scripted accounts, bot accounts, or they're actively being hacked. And because that's another interesting kind of like catfished. That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
So a ploy for people who want to pirate on the internet, they'll steal an account or they'll copy one, and then they'll run up the follower accounts with bot accounts and script accounts, and they'll start posting stuff, and they're hoping that the algorithm doesn't check. They just see that they have lots of followers, so it just disperses it like crazy. And then a lot of those bot accounts are scripted to reshare, like that content. And that's kind of how they try to get like a big following there, and then they try to sell promotional spots on the account, which is where you get the promoted on this. They have 1 million followers, but then they're following 10 people, and they're all like Kim Kardashian and Jay-Z and like 10 celebrities.
And this is not a new thing either.
No.
I just like to point out. I mean, it seems new because so many people nowadays are using Instagram and Facebook and TikTok for their businesses, and as influencers. So bot accounts are in conversation. But I remember when Instagram, like almost when it first came out back in 2014, I think this was when they had this whole Ray-Ban post where you remember seeing something like that, like Ray-Bans for $10.99. And it was like all my friends that were posting about it. Clearly they were hacked, but it's been an issue for a long time.
Because all they have to do is they have to drum up some kind of steam to get people excited about it.
Yeah.
But what it kind of, to boil this back down to content, like at the end of it, you have to create content that lands with people. Like social media was always intended ever since the beginning of Facebook. The original intent was to get people to connect with other people. It was a secondary version of getting together. And so that's still kind of how social media, acts today, because the algorithm is built to kind of mimic human interaction and interest, right? And so if you can create content that lands on, inspiration, if it lands on like process, satisfaction, before after things. Like I was talking to a guy who runs an RV detailing business, and we were talking about like what kind of content he should create. I was like, dude, you just need to grab a tripod and put your phone on it, and then time lapse you cleaning a dirty RV. Because like the instant satisfaction of watching a whole RV be cleaned in like 10 seconds is like, people are going to like the stew out of that. Like, and that's all you have to do. And then by happenstance, we'd be like, oh, he's an RV detailer. I have an RV, and that's one of the ways that you can sell it, right? Because you're getting that instant gratification. People are liking it organically. And then eventually you get in front of people who are going to need what you're doing. right? Same reason why woodworkers are always, showing videos of them cutting something, some intricate, weird thing that they made work. All those things are really satisfying. It can be funny. Like comedy is huge on social media because people just like to laugh.
Right.
One of the most shared styles of content is humor. And so if you can make people laugh, you can make people laugh. Now you have to be creative and tying that back to your business. But if you're in goal, like if you're just like a social media influencer or wannabe, if you're funny, just be funny. Be nice about it, but you can just be funny. In politics, it's always going to be this like really polarizing, kind of fear-mongering kind of split, and this happens on both sides of the aisle. Whichever side you land on is that side is saying that they're going to do this and that, you should be afraid. While at the same time, that side is saying they're doing this and that, so you should be afraid. And they're just trying to get people to vote one way or another all the time. Those people go to the same parties at night and laugh with each other and drink beer all night anyway. So all that to say, like, your content matters most. I think your Star Wars reels kind of proved to us, like, okay, 4 or 5 of these with no caption, no hashtag, no geotagging, no tagging another account, no like collaborating, and one of them was 1 million views, and it just proves that if the content is good, people will watch it.
Right.
If it's not good, people won't watch it. It's just that simple. So make content that satisfies what people are looking for. Don't just make content that just for the sake of making content. Have a purpose and a strategy behind it, and then use the methods of hashtags, geotagging, collaborating to help boost what's already a good thing. Like if I bake a cake, but I don't put any sugar in it, no one wants to eat it. I can do everything else right, but if it's a bland, nasty cake, no one's going to eat it just because it looks good. Like make content that lands with people. Make content that stirs emotion or happiness or thought. Anything, just get it at a human level. And then when you're done, watch it and be like, would I watch this? No. Okay, I'm not going to post it. Would I watch this? Yeah, that was pretty funny. I'm going to post it. Yeah. Any last thoughts, Logan?
Yeah, I completely agree. Content is the key.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that. We had a little case study here. Definitely. I mean, I couldn't say it any better than that, how you just said it. So
content is king. Let that be what you take away. Content is king. So anyways, guys, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back on Monday with another episode. Wish Alex and the DMs happy vacation. He'll be back sometime next week. And I think David Waldy's going to be back in next week too, so we'll be hearing from him as well. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And you guys have a great one.